Okay, welcome to today's session of eMeet Your Design and Fashion School. Um, today we have a very interesting session with a school called LISAA School of Design. But before we get into that, let me introduce the purpose of this particular eMeet. And the purpose is to interact with the top management of each school. Keep your options open to the private design and fashion schools. We understand that you are focused on the national schools, but keep options open, and you save money not by applying to all the schools, but to narrow down the few schools that you think are right for you and apply only to those. Um, some of you have reached out to us asking how to write your SOP, how to create a portfolio. So all of this has been done. We've done webinars on this before, and it's in our YouTube member channel. So please go there to find that information. Some of you who are wondering how to even go ahead and select a design school, right? We've done a webinar on that as well, which is design and fashion schools to consider in 2024. And that brings us down to LISAA School of Design, which is based in Bangalore. We have the co-founder and director of LISAA School of Design, Avi Keswani, who's here joining us today. And she would be representing the school and talking a lot about their vision and what they have in store for you as a aspirant, and why you should really consider LISAA School of Design. So welcome, Avi. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Dion.
Looking forward
Right.
to an interesting session. So we've visited your school, we've seen what your school is about. And it's been very interesting. I mean, I think quite a few of our students have come there and had those experiences of workshops, and we got some good feedback on that. So we thought, why not take this further and see what you all have differently. Yeah.
Great. Very, very excited to be doing this. Yes.
All right. All right. So we have our participants who are watching this on YouTube. All right. And they will ask questions, and I will moderate those questions in as and when they do ask. But for now, I believe you have a presentation that you'd like to share.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, you can go ahead. And one point I missed mentioning, all right, is that the applications for LISAA School of Design are out. The applications for 2024 admissions. So those of you who are interested in applying, I've pinned the link. I've posted the link in the chat, and I've pinned it there, so you all have access to that. And if you'll miss the chat, it's still there in the description of this particular webinar, right? So over to you, Avi.
Hi, Dion. I'd just like to know how many students are there, and I'd like to greet them once more. If
All right.
you
So
could.
there are about around 17 to 20 people watching this live right now, but there'll be more joining in as
Oh,
we, yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Okay, that's great. So, hi, students, and I speak to you from, of course, the city of Bangalore. And we moved here in 2012, me and my husband, Girish. And the two of us were extremely enthused with, how education was imparted in the United States. And growing up, we've seen kids coming from different strata of society and not having access to that level of international education, which we felt we were very privileged to get. So this was our dream, and LISAA was looking to expand at the time, and so they were looking for partners who would be wholeheartedly involved. I will start with the background of LISAA. So this we've been running this particular institute in Bangalore for the past 10 years. This is our 11th year running. The school itself, it's as you can see on the slide as well, it's a French design school. LISAA is an acronym, so it stands for l'Institut des Supérieurs Appliqués Arts, which means it's a superior institute of applied arts. Okay, so yeah, so when we came back, we were very, very clear with the fact that we wanted to pursue design and not fine arts because, again, the job scenario didn't look very bright for fine art per se. And that was one of our major criterias in terms of what we would want to be doing. And employability was something we placed very, very highly. Great. So it's a 35-year-old design school. And in Bangalore, as I already mentioned, we've been managing it since 2013. The local affiliation that we have is with Bangalore City University, or the BCU. So I will take you through the slides quickly, and in between, if you have questions, Dion, how should we do this? Do we go about the questions in between, or should we stack them up for later? Or
Yeah, let's stack them up later. You go with this, and then we'll get them in later. Yeah.
okay, sure. Great. So you can see on the screen that the branches of LISAA School of Design are world over, as in primarily in France, but there's one in China. I don't know why it's not mentioned here. Okay. So you have Paris, Nantes, Rennes, Strasbourg, Bordeaux, Toulouse, and Bangalore. So these are the centers. There used to be one in China. Okay. Yeah. So here you can see the duration. So fashion and apparel design is 3 years. You have an option to pursue it for 4 years as well. You have interior and spatial design, animation, game art, graphics and communications design. We have some PG courses as well. So you have an MBA. Now these PG courses are basically MBA in design. So you have MBA in fashion and MBA in interior. The diploma courses are just about a year long. So the dual certificate, I think, is what the first slide was trying to explain as well. So you get a diploma from LISAA and you get a degree from BCU, which is the Bangalore Central City University, now City University. Okay, these are a few of the brands and companies where our students are working. There are some French brands here as well, Societe Generale. Okay. So, just looking at the highlights, I wanted to talk about the set of faculty members and how we select them. It's a very rigorous process. Like, for example, our HOD for graphic is somebody who's a graduate of JJ School of Fine Arts, and she used to be a principal for another design school. But right now she's with us. She's heading a graphic department, Miss Varsha. Then we have, for fashion, we have Miss Nisha, who is studied in Australia. She did her master's in fashion from Australia, and she did her undergrad here in Bangalore. Faculty members also have degrees from NIFT. We have a faculty member who studied at NID. Some faculty members have, as I mentioned, studied abroad, and some are different ethnicities. We have some French faculty members. We have somebody who is from Turkey, who's working with us right now. So we try and incorporate faculty members from different, not only walks of life and different age group, but also people who've had a varied industry experience. That's also very, very relevant, because what happens is, and that's actually one of, a fear that when you actually go to a university or a school which doesn't involve professionals as much, you're actually learning with teachers who've been teaching in the very campus for a very long time, which is great and very, very prestigious. But just with a word of caution that, are they really in tune with what's happening in the industry? Right. So that is very important. That's very key. It's a key feature. And LISAA always makes sure, not only here, but also in France, that the teachers are a mix of members who are full-time, and then you have part-time faculty members. So they have one foot in the industry. Okay. So talking about support for, corporate partnerships. So these are the projects that, when we have industry connects, what happens is that a lot of The companies are very open, and especially in Bangalore, where they want our students to be involved wholeheartedly in a project, and they come up with a project. For example, one of these brands here, Fly Nava, as you see the logo here, this has been designed by our students. So they come in, and when you actually see that, okay, these are brands that are high flying now, but then our students are the ones who did the logo for them. It's really quite interesting. And we get the same thing with the Woopler. Woopler give us some very interesting live projects back in the day. So as is, I think, always the case, schools try to connect, and we try our very best to connect you with the alumni so that you have a support base, to fall back on, and you get to understand what's happening in the industry also from the alumni. And that's also why it's very, very relevant to us. So you can see some photographs of the facilities here. The campus is roughly about 30,000 square feet. We are based in the heart of the city. Again, a very important criteria for design schools to be in the heart of the city. Because see, what happens is, especially like if you look at, for example, fashion design, VM now, every time we have located very close to Forum Mall. So every time my student is walking across Forum Mall, he or she is subconsciously taking in what's happening with regards to the visual merchandise, what's put up in the stores, what's trending. So yes, you're going to conduct your trend survey, but then when you see it and you experience it and you feel it, you just absorb it subconsciously. So when you actually come to school, you may feel like, wow, I didn't learn anything from the morning, but actually you've absorbed a lot of city life without being aware of it. Okay, so this is a small video. This is the last year.
force is being sucked by your bloody leech. My fear is smiling and my dread is singing every night a little bit more. I cannot see anything. I am blindfolded. I can hear the birds. I can see them fly. I can see the sky. I can hear the birds. I can see them fly. I can see the sky. It's about to climb, but I gotta stay, 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 stay.
Great. So yeah, that was just I think it took us a 360-degree. It showcased educational trips that we've had. This is all just about, I think, in a year span, all of these events and activities and outdoor trips. Great. So I think now I will take you through the details of the program. So we'll start with the fashion and apparel design. So the most important thing is, I mean, for any designer and especially at LISAA, so we start with the foundation year where you learn to sketch. So the first year is literally a lot of sketching, a lot of hands-on skills. Parallelly, if you're in the fashion department, you will start to use a scissor, you start to learn how to use a sewing machine. You'd be introduced to proper professional sewing machines. And unlike a couple of other schools that allow their students to get their sewing work from outside, I mean, done from outside, from tailors or seamstresses outside, we are very, very strict with the sewing being done in-house. So, I mean, a little bit later, I will share the video of this particular, just the recent, this season fashion show as well. And again, you will notice, I mean, although the finish is pretty high quality, but none of the sewing has been done from outside. So we are very, very particular about the in-house hands-on work. And if I say that, I also have to tell you that we provide a lot of support, and the teachers are extremely, extremely hands-on with teaching students. So it's not like, okay, you're given a brief and then you're left by yourself, okay, come up with whatever. But on every step of the design and the collection and how it is going to finally look on the ramp, the faculty members play a very, very hands-on role. Okay, so that's the only reason why we expect the students as well to do their dues and to make sure everything is hand done. Okay, so having said that, let me just quickly walk you through the various subjects. So you have the sewing technology, you have pattern making, you have draping, a very important subject, you have fashion illustration. So fashion illustration, we do both, obviously, with regular hand illustration as well. And then you learn to illustrate using the softwares so that you can have digital lineups, you can have digital collections as well, which usually outnumber the the collections that are made for real. But you'll have a lot of digital collections by the end of almost second year. You would have done maybe two digital collections already, and by the end of third year, you would have probably done 6 digital collections. Okay, so here we talk about surface ornamentation. Now we take our students, to artisans, and sometimes we also invite the artisans. India, as you all know, is known for its various forms of embroidery. So whether it is the Kantha work from Bengal or it is the Fulkari work of Punjab, we are very, very rich when it comes to our forms of embroidery. And one of the best things about being located in India is that we make sure that we have a local approach. And by that, I mean, it's a global way of education and a global curriculum. But what you enhance your learning with is the local aspect of the art form, or if it is textile, like fabric, like this year, for example, in this collection, we've used a lot of linen. We've used Jaipuri miniature print as our inspiration. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Also, when we get French students to come to India and to visit us, they find it very interesting. So we had taken them to this block printing workshop. I remember just before COVID, and they were doing, block printing. They were very excited and very happy to be exploring all those colors and prints and patterns and motifs. And I asked them a question, and I said, I'd be curious to know, like, how far are you going to take this learning? And will it actually impact the collection that you're currently creating in France? And it was so heartening because I think it was a batch of 20 students, and actually all of them said, whoever was in the group at the time, I think 16, 17 students were around me, and all of them said that yes, it is going to impact their collection when they go back home. And I felt like, okay, this is, did make my day, if I may say so. Okay, so here you could see that we do a bit of styling as well. And you can see this one in the center is actually a muslin toil work that the students have done. Okay, now coming to career opportunities. So the first obvious one is a designer. Then we are looking at other careers such as a coordinator. And if you have any questions, because there are a lot of various careers I'm going to discuss here, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I'm assuming a lot of the words are very, very common, like influencer and what it means. So then fashion influencer, a fashion stylist. You could always open your boutique. You could be working in a design house. You could be working for a textile design firm, or you could look at fashion merchandise as an option. Also, you could look at probably being somebody who procures the material. If you want to take this to the next level, for example, if you really enjoy pattern making, you could be working also as, if you work extra hard and if you pursue, let's say, another 1 year in France, that could open your options to be working backstage for Chanel, for Dior, and a lot of the other French fashion brands. Okay, again, a list of the companies that have hired our students. So you can just go through a list. Okay, so this is just a selection.
I won't crash your car if you don't crash mine, and I only feel better half of the time when I am sleeping and I'm dreaming in my bed, and I don't know if I'm awake or I'm dead. Always remember that you love me when I leave my lonely body.
Okay. So this was the collection that we presented just recently, 2nd of December at the Grand Sheraton, the Brigade Gateway. And it was really well received. If you have any questions, happy to answer them as well at the end of the session. Okay, so I'll walk you through the graphic segment now. So this is actually a tree that our HOD from graphics, she uses this and we borrowed it from her. So this includes all of the various subjects and strengths that you would need to develop by the end of the program if you want to be called a proficient graphic designer. I teach one of the subjects here, semiotics. Quite interestingly, semiotics is a subject which is ignored by most of the design schools, and except for in Europe. So it's only in Europe that semiotics is considered or taught in a much more formal manner. But if you look at most design schools, you wouldn't find semiotics as a subject there. And I will
you could elaborate, what semiotics is. Yeah.
Sure. So let me first tell you a small research that was conducted on the relevance of semiotics to designers, where a set of graphic designers or budding graphic designers were exposed to semiotics, and the next set was not exposed to semiotics. And so there was a competition for which they were supposed to participate, and the actual selection happened. It was quite surprising that the 4 posters that were selected were done by students who were exposed to semiotics. So not only this, a lot of other research work, and you can always find it on Google Scholar. If you want, I'm happy to share the paper with Dion. Now, what semiotics does, so technically the definition of semiotics is the study of signs and symbols. So everything that you see on a day-to-day basis, from the traffic signal to when you're in a mall and you're looking for the restroom, so you know what kind of signs to look for. This is This all comes under the subject semiotics, and you learn to approach signs and symbols in a very, very formal manner. So everything from, let's say, everything which has a language can be studied using semiotics. So if you enter a space and you see it and you know what is kept where and what is the relevance of keeping that particular item over there, that would be something that a semiotician would be able to explain. So in a way, we are all, I would like to say we're all semioticians, but it's just that when you learn the subject, you become a lot more aware and you understand the technicalities that go behind qualifying this large word sign into, for example, what is an icon, what is index, what is symbol, and we can, just go on and on. So personally, I mean, I find this subject to be very interesting, and my students, after I think a class or two, they come up to me and they say, "Ma'am, we really enjoy this subject," and most of them are doing great. Actually, all of them are doing great. So that's great. So we study advertisements, we analyze advertisements, we understand the rhetoric behind them, we understand why a text is placed in a certain manner, etc., etc. So there's a lot of technical study that goes behind it, and that's a part of the not only graphic, but now semiotics is taught to all design students at least. Okay, I hope that was sufficient for now. And
Yep, that's good. Yeah, go on.
So the rest of the subjects, I'll quickly take you through them. So augmented reality, which is now a huge part of the industry itself. So we also teach students AR, VR, digital imaging, internships and projects. On the right, you will see typography, UI UX design. So UI UX design, see, we have a lot of demand for UI UX designers. In fact, I was telling Dion the other day that our students, each of the students in graphic design have 2 to 3, sometimes 4 job offers, and they are literally spoiled for choices. But this is an amazing time, I mean, to be a graphic designer. It's also one of the professions that makes you geographically independent. I mean, tomorrow you could be just about living anywhere. I have a student who lives in Manali, and he earns a great paycheck. He's camping every other day, and so he's literally like moved with his bag and baggage to Manali. So I have many such students who move to their hometown and continue to pursue their profession from the comfort of their own homes. Okay, so typography, again, this is a very, very major subject. So for a graphic designer, I mean, the text that you're dealing with, it's sacred. Anything if you take the text for granted, it's a blasphemy for a graphic design. Okay, so typography, when you start to learn and so some of our students have come up with their own type fonts. So 2 of our students, one is called LISAA. I think we don't have the video for it right now, but I will share it with Dion. So one of the students has come up with a type font, which he calls LISAA, very inspired by the Indian type font. And then we had another student who has built another font, I'm forgetting the name, but it's super cool because as a student, when your font reaches a certain level, which is a professional level, and you can actually install it in MS Word, and you're probably sending text and emails now in the font that you created, it gives a lot of sense of pride. Not to say that you can also eventually make money doing that. Okay, so design thinking is another subject that we teach here at LISAA School of Design. So we have professionals who teach the subject, and certain segments I teach as well, because I mean, I did my diploma in design thinking from Stanford University a few years ago. So it's a great subject. We come up with really innovative ideas. Okay. So here, again, few other subjects that you're going to be learning. So visual communication, UI UX design, we already discussed it, motion graphics design, and web design. Of course, creating websites is a quintessential part of what graphic designers do. Okay, so just a few definitions. If you want, I'll share the final slide with Dion. I mean, the entire slides. You can probably read through it in a lot more detail. I'm aware of the time. So I'm going to be moving forward a bit faster, if that's okay. Okay, so careers and the options. So you can always pursue being a logo designer. So as the part of the assignment, students, for example, redesign logos. One of our students redesigned the logo for Nandini, the milk uh, products brand. So you can actually, I mean, pick any brand, but the process is what matters, right? So if you're going to redesign a brand, you have to explain why it is not working for this brand. How is it that you're going to approach it, and why is it better? Also in semiotics, we recently did a case study. I mean, we studied a case study on four different on the evolution of logos, basically from a semiotic perspective. And we studied the logo of Starbucks, of McDonald's, of Shell, and of Nike. So that was a very interesting study as well. Okay, so poster design, product and packaging design, book cover design. Students love this. These are all in-house projects that our students have done. Okay. So graphic designers, the traditional understanding is that yes, you'd be absorbed by the advertising industry, but today the scenario has changed. As in, if I look at, let's say, the city of Bangalore, and my students are working here, many of them are working for 2 to 3 companies parallelly, right? So they are freelancing and making a lot of money. At the same time, they enjoy the liberty that freelancing gives you. Okay. So I'll just give you a backstory of the video before we go ahead with it. So this particular video is, something that captures the snippets of the visit of our French design students when they had visited Bangalore. We had planned a trip to Pondicherry with them, and the idea was to talk about a study that they were conducting to give ideas around the creation of a bridge between White Town in Pondicherry and Tamil Nadu. Now, these two places are culturally very, very diverse in terms of even ethnicity. A lot of the French population that lives in Pondicherry is in the White Town. And the part of Tamil Nadu that we are connecting White Town to has a lot of native, like Tamilian crowd. And so the idea of the bridge was not only to have a literal bridge, but to have a metaphorical, or more importantly, a bridge that literally becomes connecting point for these two cultures to come across each other in a more relevant manner, and to be able to offer, you could say, services or values that the other diversity or the other ethnicity can appreciate. So some really interesting ideas came forth, but this captures the interesting process. Sorry. Yeah. Great. So, okay. Okay, so let me just quickly walk you through the interior, spatial, and product design. So in the French curriculum, it's referred to as interior and environmental design, and it was much confused by our Indian audiences. So we had to just revert the name of the degree because when we say environment in French, the idea is to give a broader understanding of the fact that it's not just the interior space design. We're also looking at creating furniture. We're looking at making sure that the inside and the outside almost blend seamlessly, or rather have a sense of harmony about it, about the interior and exterior. So that is what we meant by environmental design. But uh, because in the UGC degree, there are a lot of like environmental needs like nature and connected to, like saving the environment or understanding um, uh, nature a lot more and not as related to interior. So we had to reword it. But I hope I was able to explain what is meant by environmental. So it's a much more holistic. Like, for example, our students learn how to design furniture because a lot of times you may come up with a particular theme or a design for your client. You may not really find the furniture that is apt or is the perfect furniture for the design that you have in mind. So to give the students that confidence that yes, they can design their own furniture, that the level of anthropometrics that they learn here, which is human dimensions, proportions, the exploration of material, it's extremely thorough. And you also do a lot of exercises in the product workshop. And you do design furniture, you do design your own lamps, you do design, it could be whatever, a wall clock or some, assignment that many assignments that take you through designing these products, that you get the final confidence that yes, you can do this. Okay, so technical drafting, extremely important for students today. So CAD, 2D, 3D, space planning. So you can see this bubble map. This is literally like how, we encourage students to come up with the requirement for space. And you could, in a way, you could say that that the size of the bubble actually depicts how relevant it is, or how much space in the house would you want to, or in that workspace would you want to give each element that is mentioned in the bubble. Okay, so as I mentioned, environmental design, so being aligned with what is outside, what is inside, what kind of availability do you have of resources, of water, electricity, other natural resources. So, and then designing based on that. That is what is environmental design for us. As I already mentioned, you're going to be designing accessories and products to gain the final confidence in, mastering product design. 3D printing. So this is prototypes. I mean, we always print prototypes. Again, something that, if you come up with something in design thinking assignments, you can book your slot in the 3D printing room and finally make a printout, make a 3D print of the product. So various qualities that our faculty members think are relevant and very important in any budding interior designer. You can just read through it quickly. Okay. So career opportunities, again, being the actual original one being the interior designer, but also home light advisors. So today we're looking at, people going to a design firm for specific concerns like, okay, I already have a home or I've inherited a home, but I want to redo it. I want to maintain the essence of it, but I want it also to have contemporary features. Or you could probably find that people are talking about utility aspect, and being in Bangalore, apartments. I mean, of course, we have roomier apartments than Mumbai, but we are still always expecting more and more space. So how to design a space to fit your needs and vice versa. So home light is a very specific thing, and people do go to consultants for that. So you could be a consultant, project manager, where you are managing on top of a particular project. Kitchen designers, corporate designers. You could also be, for example, a designer, retail designers. So you could be doing a showroom for a particular brand or a startup, or you could be doing, as I mentioned earlier, co-working spaces. So the scope is endless again. So here are the career opportunities, but again, very limited mentioned here. There's a lot more. I think I just mentioned a few. Okay. Great. So these are a few of the brands we have worked with, and it constantly keeps expanding because sometimes we have, private clients coming in. Sorry, guys. Private clients coming in and they're like, okay, so, I want my house to be designed, or I want so and so. Like, if it's a startup, they may come to us and say, okay, we want our office space to be designed. Okay, so this is a more of a fun video. Again, it's the same trip, but you'll see different aspects of the trip. You will also see that the students got a chance to explore bamboo as a building material. And to do that, we started with Shantamani Mudaiji, who's a very, very famous bamboo artist based out of Bangalore, but her artwork is appreciated, and it's showcased in different museums and galleries across the world. So she's worked a lot with burnt bamboo. And so after the brief workshop we had with her here in Bangalore, we took the students to Pondicherry, and specifically in Auroville, there are some very, very interesting and authentic bamboo workers. So our students did some workshop there as well before they came up with the final prototypes. Okay, great. I think it was cut short a little bit. I will share the original again with Dion. Okay. Fine. So the next stream I'm going to quickly talk about is animation, multimedia, and game art. And by the amount of time we spend on our phones, on the screen, it should be, almost obvious, like, why is this industry so much in demand? So we're looking at various topics that come under animation, multimedia. So rigging, 2D, 3D animation, game art, visual thinking, some samples of our students' works. Okay, so what are the career opportunities? So again, here you're looking at character designer. I know it's whenever you, if you stay back to watch the credits for any animated film, you will see that the names just don't stop rolling. I mean, it's a huge number of people that this particular industry is employing. And sometimes we just take it for granted. People just put like a YouTube video for their kid and the kid is watching it like a cartoon, like they use the cell phone as a babysitter. But that's the sad reality of today. But having said that, I think most of the people are unaware of the number of people who have actually worked behind the screen to make that cartoon video of whatever, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, available to us today in the luxury of our homes and on our cell phones. 3D modeling artists, UI UX designers. So you can just quickly go over the names of the professions here. But of course, the list is a lot more. Okay, so before I move forward, I mean, I'd like to tell you, because we also offer a degree in filmmaking. Obviously, it's not part of the presentation today, but I just want to mention it because what happens is a lot of this kind of umbrella that we have and the various design professions that work under this same umbrella and in the close proximity of each other, the chances of them running into each other are very, very high. And I was reading this book on innovation, which mentions specifically that creative people bumping into each other and that kind of accidental mention, or just you might just mention this to your friend, okay, I'm working on this project, and then what really comes out of it, like they may actually connect you to people. Like I'll give you an example. So when I teach my students in class, some of them are shy and they are not very outspoken, and when we go to watch a film preview of what the filmmaking students have been doing, so every 6 months we have this kind of film preview, and I see the very same students starring in a film or featuring or doing some very interesting role, and I'm just amazed by this kind of talent that is hidden in students, and the fact that they get the opportunity to expose themselves to various streams, living right under, or being just by being in campus. Okay, so one more, this is a short video. We used it as a brand AV in our BTFW participation this year. I'll quickly take you through that and then we will answer questions. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the presentation. Happy to take any questions if we have at this point.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Avi. It was very, very interesting. And it's amazing to see what your students are working on and the cross-cultural approach that you'll have, right? Because that actually is the essence of being a good designer, to have that exposure and understand the differences in cultural approaches. So how do you see that as shaping the students, right? Especially like the projects you did at Pondicherry, or the visits to France. So how does that shape the personality of students?
Dion, that's a really relevant question, and I was actually hoping you'd ask me that. So, see, when it comes to the French approach to design, I would like to say that it's a very, very hands-on approach. And I'll give you an example. Like, there was a time, I think, closer to 1950s, when the laces and the industry of laces was actually dying in France, and designers decided, it was almost like something that became a protocol, that they were going to order a lot more laces and they're going to like enhance that industry, and people took that personal initiative to do that, which you don't find very much in countries that are purely focused on business aspect of it. So this idea, like when I mentioned to you that this local integration, that we bring in the artisans and we talk to the artisans, bring them here, teach the students local embroidery, which is Indian embroidery, is actually something that is appreciated and is the integral part of the French culture. To appreciate local art and to embed it in what you're creating and to make it as seamless as possible. Like, if I were to take you through this particular collection that we did, so we did classic French silhouettes. And the Indian aspect of it was so beautiful and so relevant because a student came up with this idea of using Jaipuri miniature prints. Now, it's a Mughal art form, but today, of course, we look at all of the Mughal art forms as Indian art forms, right? So, Jaipuri prints, we found a particular retailer in Surat who could do these beautiful prints for us. We got some swatches. When the swatches were approved, we finally ordered it. And how intrinsically it was embedded in the design and how it became something that was a fusion, like this entire collection was a fusion of India and French, the cultures. It's just amazing, I think, how these two come together. So I just wanted to give you an example. I hope I've answered it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very interesting because I think the nuance of understanding what other people like and what their preferences are, which is very different from our personal preferences, really makes us wholesome designers, isn't it? Yeah. All right. Right.
So we had Allianz Francaise director Christian at the show, and he was just blown away. He said it was so amazing. I still have his messages like, okay, this Lisa is the best. Because he loved the collection, and not to mention we used a lot of French music, and the final walk was on La Via Rose. So
Okay.
what's there not to love?
So this is the next aspect, which is very interesting because I had come for the previous fashion show that y'all did, and Swati was there at the recent one. So how often do y'all do these kind of fashion shows?
See, generally it's about once every season, which is twice a year. It was only during COVID that we couldn't really perform, but also it depends on the student collection. Like once when we were working with Bangalore Fashion Week, we did 4 days in a row. So we presented all of our collections that were stacked together, and we did this one, like it was like a grand finale because we did 4 shows. So every day Lisa was presenting versus like this year when we have kind of divided the shows like, okay, season 1, season 2, every year participating in both the winter, autumn and your spring, summer.
Right. Because that was pretty cool. I mean, to see the work that your students had done with,
Right.
models wearing them, it was pretty interesting. Right. And there's a lot of work that goes on the back, right? The behind the scenes is a lot of organizing that's being done. So what's the
Right.
kind of experience? I mean, what are you looking for that experience for your students, right? The behind the scenes part in preparation for this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, after the show, I remember like backstage, a couple of us had tears in our eyes, and, we could just understand the sentiments because there is so much that's at stake, and we take every little bit so seriously. So even the other day in class, I was asking the students just about, I think, day before, how was your experience? And, they were like, so we had sent a lot of volunteers as well from LISAA. We got this opportunity to have our students volunteer for BTFW. So these students were there on both the days. So although we were presenting in that 30-minute slot, but our students were, especially from the fashion department, most of them were at the venue the 2 entire days. And so the learning experiences that, they were sharing were amazing. They were like, ma'am, we learned so much. And I said, okay, so were you scared at a certain point? Because backstage is a lot of pressure, right? So they said, ma'am, the best thing when we were doing our jobs, nobody was yelling at us and we knew exactly what to do. So even tiny things like ironing collections, how do you use the steam iron on particular, kinds of fabric? Those are nuances that students learn when they participate in a show, or for that matter, how much time do you have between the two shows? If it's a 2D show, then you get 14 garments each. So between the shows, there's just about maybe a minute. And in that minute, if that particular brand has some props. You have to position the props correctly. You need the audio set. You need the background set correctly. You need the models have to run, so you have to leave that space for them to, you know, run back, change, and be ready for the lineup. What kind of makeup? So when you're clubbing two particular shows together, so you have to make sure that, you know, their makeups are aligned. It shouldn't be too drastic or very different looks, because they won't have the time to change makeups. So all those little things, I think when the students experience it and they learn that, okay, there's so much, like for example, for music, we were working with Martin, and he's, you know, he's worked with BTFW a couple of times. So he was such a delight to work with. He had very specific, like we had very specific feedback, like this is what we want. And the student who was the main designer, so we gave them specific points and specific songs that this is what's relevant. And we don't realize it, but this kind of audio, visual, and the backdrop, Lumna, who was the choreographer, she gave amazing inputs for the backdrop. So it becomes such a collaborative effort. And finally, when it all falls in place, you can see the magic unfold in front of you.
Yep. Very true. Very true. It was very impressive. My experience was very interesting over there. We had a few parents who were asking us about the placements, right? At you know, LISAA, what are the type of, we saw a few slides of the, you know, the students who had been placed, or the companies that came for placements, but what are the kind of jobs that they get, or the salary bands? Could you throw some light on that?
Sure. So when it comes to you know, LISAA Bangalore, or for example LISAA anywhere in the world, one of the things that we have made sure is to keep it more like a boutique school. Its strength and its power is in its compactness, and we have a very limited intake every year. So the reason behind it is that we want to take in as many students as we know we will be able to focus on individually. And this kind of an individual grooming through the years leads to individuals, like for example, the Valley School. Like how many people, how many students does the Valley School take in? Again, maybe 10 to 12 a year. That's it. They wouldn't take more than that. The reason is because when you're going to give that time and attention to a child, you need to have a limited intake. Now, the advantages are that at the end of the year, when they are in their final year, a lot before that, they have that clarity in their mind and heart that they know what they want to do. So, of course, I can give you, you know, a much more overarching answer and say, okay, these are the brands that come in and this is the salary package, of course. But I want you to make, especially the students and parents, to make a note of the fact that when you choose design, you are being that brave parent or that smart parent that actually wants the child to thrive in what they're doing. And all of a sudden, when, you know, you change that criteria, like in the final year, now suddenly you're like, okay, now I want you to get a job in this particular MNC or work as a graphic designer for, you know, just so and so brand. I feel that that becomes like a dichotomy or a dichotomous approach, which I personally feel is not very fair to the student. Having said that, we have students who work at 3M. We have students who have worked for, as I mentioned, Purvankara. A lot of interior design students have worked, and they are still working at LiveSpace. So the child himself or herself, when I said that there's a personal grooming, will know that, okay, am I the kind of person who, like, for example, one of our students has set up a wallpaper store in Kormangala. Right, so she has collaborated with a fashion design student, and the two of them have set up a store in Cornwall. So it's a child's unique ability, is the child's unique approach to life that we want to see budding, and that is where our forte is in mentoring the student. The salary packages, Dion, again, they range. Like if a student is setting up their own startup, I'm not going to mention salaries, but generally I would say they start anywhere from 35,000. Sometimes like one time, I remember, two of our students got a package of 60,000
Wow.
by this HR company, very famous. The names they will come to me, but it was a 6 month stint, and they earned 60,000 per month. So I mean that happens as well.
So when you say 6 months stint, was that like an internship or something, or was that employment?
Yeah, it was. They were fully employed. Like this was after their final year, but
Okay.
it was a project. So it was a
Okay.
project-based hire.
All right. All right. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Um, right. We'll do maybe a couple of last questions because we've passed the 6 o'clock time. So the other aspect I wanted to touch upon was, being in Koramangala, right? And you spoke about being in Koramangala, but what it means by being in the middle of the city means you do have to have a smaller setup, right? Versus
Right,
going outside of the city and having a much larger setup, right?
right,
So
right.
what kind of why is it that you think it's so important that because that's a tough decision for y'all as business owners, right? Or
Right.
owners of the institution. So what made y'all choose to be in the city rather than on the outskirts?
Yeah. So first and foremost, all of the LISAA campuses are in the heart of the city, no matter where it is, whether it's in Barry or in Nantes or in Strasbourg, where we were earlier this year. All of the campuses are in the heart of the city, and this is one of the guidelines that LISAA has for any campus, anywhere. So, just delving a little bit deeper into it would mean that uh, if it is fine arts, for example, you have Chitrakala Parishad, and that's creating some of the best fine artists, or Shanti Niketan out there. Or if you're creating scientists, who need to be in their own world when they are creating, and they can at least choose to disconnect for a bit. It makes sense for them to have that kind of a space and go outside. But for a designer, and I had written this article long ago called, I think it was published in the Hindu, where so the idea was that designers have to be plugged in at all times. We don't have the liberty to unplug ourselves, at least not for longer periods of time. I mean, you always go back and you take, vacay and you reboot yourself. But when you're back, and you need to be inside the world. You need to be connected to the industry. And when I say connected, it's not just being connected for 20 minutes a day or reading the news. It actually means to be in that space and to absorb subconsciously, and this process just happens. Like, what does city life mean? And this is also a difference that we talk about when we say art and design, right? So art per se, and I teach my students the way we explain it, is inside out. You could wake up with the concept and you create something, and that's art. Design is outside in. I mean, you first take a lot of input, and that input is very, very important for what you're going to create, right? Because you're going to create a prototype, and that has to be mass manufacturable, and so on. Like, so you have to be aware of what's going on in the design world, in the market, in the industry, in the retail industry, what kind of film is playing today, or what kind of theater is happening nearby. And all of those cultural aspects, I think, make for this beautiful reservoir that, student is putting in, feeding it, and then you use it when the time comes, and you see uh, how they actually flourish with that. I hope I was able to explain
Right.
this point. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Right. So, Avi, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful session. And for the audience, if y'all are from the 2019, sorry, the 2023 batch looking into admissions for 2024, the application link for LISAA School has been pinned on this chat, and it's also in the description of this webinar and on our WhatsApp groups as well. So please feel free to click on that and apply. And for those of you who are in the further batches, there's 25 and 26 batches, you all could see the listing of LISAA School of Design on our DQ Edge page. And that's where you'll get a little more information about LISAA. And a few comments from Manisha Prabhu and Santosh Kumar. Thank you so much for conducting this informative and useful session. All right. All right, Avi. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. And any other questions with regards to admissions? We have Kavita here, and students can go ahead and ask her. She's our admissions head.
All right.
Kavita.
Right. So
Kavita, do I have you here?
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe she's in a bad network.
All right.
Okay.
Right. But maybe if you can brief us on the admission process. So the application is what I spoke about.
Sure. Okay. Oh, she's here. She's here. Okay.
Yeah.
Kavita, we'd like to hear a little bit more about the admissions process. Could you please explain that?
I think she's having a little trouble with the network or the video. Because it's not
Okay. So I think I'll just give you just a top level understanding of the admission process. So you click on the link and you land on the form. And I think once you fill the form, you will be also contacted by the admissions counselor who will explain to you the exacted, I guess you have to wait for your results. When the results are out, that's when you go ahead and fill in the rest of the forms. You start with, just maybe the university registration as well, which comes slightly later, depending on when you actually get admitted. And I guess that's what the process is like. So the first step is to fill the form and connect with us.
All right. All right. Right. So yeah, that was a question from Sudiksha about the admission process. Sudiksha, I hope your question has been answered. And if you'll have any more questions on that, you could let us know. But the best way is to, most of y'all are already on the groups. So please ping us on the groups. You could ping Swati or me. And we'd be happy to guide you further. So you've heard it from Avi Keswani that you need to fill up that application link and their admissions team will get back in touch with you. All right. Thank you so much, Avi and Kavita. We hope your network gets better. But thank you so much, Avi. It's been a pleasure having you out here and addressing our students and parents.
Thank you so much, Dion. It was an absolute pleasure. And, just sending my greetings and just happy to connect with any parents who have any further questions. But thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. I had a great fun talking to the students.
All right. All right. Then we have another comment here from Vasudev Prabhu who says that the LISAA admission process is very easy and Kavita is very helpful. So on that note, let's end this webinar. Thank you once again. Yep. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, dear.